Kemi Badenoch confirming that the Conservatives may be looking to backtrack on their previous support of the pensions triple lock. The Conservative leader did say that she does support the triple lock in concept, but her party will begin means testing the policy, saying we've got to give something to the next generation. To be honest with you, I actually have no idea what Kemi Badenoch said. I mean, she seemed to say one thing, then contradict it, and then go back on another. And I would humbly suggest... I'm going to go to the youngster on the panel first.
Please do.
I would humbly suggest, Curtis, that if you are leading the Tory party, most of your voters are a certain generation, you don't start messing around with pensions.
There's two...
Do you understand what she actually said, what she meant?
Well, I can try and dissect it.
Briefly and quickly, and make it more sense than she did.
There's two red lines as a Tory leader. You don't go after people mortgages and you don't go after pensions.
Oops.
And why? Yeah. And why has the Tory party collapsed in the last couple of years? Because they screwed people's mortgages, and now they're talking about means testing. But I find it funny because Kemi Badenoch, I thought she was better in the leadership contest, but I think that Robert Jenrick was weak sauce, so she looked better than she actually is. It's quite remarkable how poor of a leader she is. And she said, I'm very economical with my words. I never say anything I don't mean. Yet she's come out and attacked Labour. For me, a policy I think is wrong. I think we should keep the winter fuel payments. She's attacked Labour for means testing on winter fuel payments and then saying, but I support means testing on the triple lock. So why are you attacking the Labour Party for something you're going to do? What we should do is protect the triple lock and keep the winter fuel payments. Look, obviously,
I love you.
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm not an older person, but one day I'm gonna need to rely on this. And this Bennett's, if I'm lucky, if I do get a pension at 31 years old, maybe it's not going to happen. But even if it doesn't happen to me, I care about other people. I care about pensioners. And by the same breath, I care about those who, unfortunately, lose their jobs or are on unemployment. I don't want to see welfare cuts across the board because I'm consistent. But Kemi Badenoch, really remarkable how she doesn't see the contradiction in her own statement.
But then Labour, obviously, as they would do, sort of like thought, oh, hello, there's a little chink in the armour here, we're going to jump straight in there. Then they carried on digging their own hole, because when they were asked about means testing, pension triple lock, they refused to rule it out.
No, exactly. I agree with Curtis on Kemi Badenoch. I don't know where she's coming from. She's done a U-turn on this already. I mean, surely she should have been aware of Theresa May and how Theresa May managed to wipe out the majority that she had in the Commons by attacking pensioners. She went after the dementia tax,
wasn't it?
Unbelievable. So, you know, it was called the grey tax, the dementia tax. She had a 16% lead in the election that she fought, right? And all of a sudden, when one of her ministers mentioned older people having to pay more to look after their own care, that disappeared. So if Kemi's got any sense of history of her party, she knows exactly what Curtis said. Don't attack pensioners. Pensioners don't vote for Labour. They traditionally vote for Conservatives because they've seen more of life than younger people. The other point, Kurt says, that I don't believe in your lifetime you'll get a state pension. I think it will have gone by the time you are 60. If you do get one, you won't get it till you're 75, because we all know the demographic of the ageing population that we have, and they're going to have to push back the age of the pension further and further. So it's a very serious subject, and Kemi Badenoch shouldn't have been so vague about it. Shouldn't have been talking about... I mean, look, I can understand somebody like Lord Sugar, somebody like Richard Branson, somebody like Mick Jagger. Of course you'll means test them, because I spoke to Lord Sugar once, and he couldn't get hold of anybody in the appropriate government department to say, I don't want a pension. Literally, it just kept coming into his bank account.
I would go further and say, because some people have said, well, as a young person, we've not had it eased in terms of certain things when it comes to the housing crisis, so why should we care about the pensioners? And I say this, first of all, if you take care of one group, you would take care of everyone. I don't think we should be pitting generations against each other. I also think as well, let me finish that point. Let me finish the point. I also think that even if there are some pensioners who don't need it, I'm still happy for my tax money to go to them, even if it means they get an extra holiday out of it. Because I like the idea in the year of 2025 now, that it's not just about scrimping by, but everyone should have a decent life, a decent job, have a car, or go on holiday. So even some of my tax money is going towards a pensioner who isn't scrimping and saving. I'd rather do that because if you start going for these people, they cut and they cut and they cut, and it'll get even worse. And then you start cutting other things, and
that's the promised land. I mean, it's the promised land. Oh, we're all, you know, going to be looked after and all that kind of stuff. Thing is, you're a young man, 31 years of age, you've got loads of energy. Something goes wrong, you pick yourself up and you go again. Trouble with pensioners is that bang, they get a slap. They haven't got the opportunity or the energy to get up and do it again. So I agree with you. I think the triple lock's got to stay, but politicians have got to be much clearer about what they think about it. And Kemi Badenoch, I mean, Ian Duncan Smith once said, oh, I'm the quiet man, and sometimes the quiet man can come up with the best ideas, do more thinking than talking. She's not doing any talking.
I am sick and tired of this debate, what we've had for years and years, which is about we need to cut this to spend on that, we need to cut that to spend on this. There is another way. There's always been another way.
You've got a black hole.
And, no, there's another way, and you go for the corporates who... Either you raise wealth tax or introduce wealth tax, you may not agree, or you just recover the taxes they've evaded or avoided, instead of saying, right, we're going to cut winter fuel payments so we can pay for this. I'm sick and tired. I mean, we need to grow a backbone in this country, because all we do is make our policies based on what the corporations do. If we had a backbone and said, you know what, I'm going to stand up to the political establishment and corporations. We can have winter fuel payments, we can have a triple lock, and we can invest in our NHS and our public services without cutting anything. Because we've had 14 years of austerity and no one's happy.
You must have seen the story this morning that 10,000 millionaires have left the UK since the Labour government announced they were going to crack down.
Yeah, but they've announced that they haven't done it. There's by the way, Capital Flight.
They've gone and they've taken the businesses with them.
I will say, Mike, Capital Flight is largely a myth. First of all, there's two things I want to say on that. First of all, the assets they leave behind, they can't take it with them, so their assets are still here. And secondly, they still have to bring their businesses into this country. Now, there are a lot of ways you can do that. If someone says, do you know what, I'm going to up and leave, we'll tax them on the way back in. Because we're a market of 70 million people. Like, if you think taxes are too high for this people, you say, well, I'd rather have 50% of something than 100% of nothing. They are going to sell in this country. And I'm sorry to say, but largely it is a tool to say, well, if you tax us, we're going to leave. That's very convenient that they say that. Yeah. Whilst the rest of us, but we ain't got a choice. We've got to pay the taxes. So I just think it's...
They do leave, and they have left, and they're not paying any taxes now, and they were paying great taxes before. I'm sorry, the top 5% in this country pay 50% of tax. It's the top 5% who are going, and we're going to lose all that tax money.
I think it's largely a myth. There are people who announce it. The people who will say it, and we get scared and we do something about it. But there are so many different policy ideas, and I'm not seeing that floated in the media.
I just want to say, Curtis, that being the sort of person that hangs around with multimillionaires, I do know at least two people that have... I mean,
that's personal anecdotes there,
circle of multimillionaire chums that have literally sold up...
But let's reform our tax system so we can do something about it rather than just...
We should pay 22% across the board, in my view.
Yeah, I mean, look, if someone said to me, do you want to pay an extra 1% on my tax for a better NHS, I'd do it as well. But I would also... I'll pay for you.
You can pay for me.
I'd expect the corporates and those who should be paying their fair taxes, if they were patriotic about this country, want to see a thriving country, and they want to do business in this country, they should pay the tax too. We should all do it for a better society.